They did it. Amazon figured out how to make Lord of the Rings fans into Rings of Power fans. A new Time magazine article came out talking to the Rings of Power cast, talking to the showrunners, but most of all, what it does is it makes clear what Amazon's strategy is for winning over those Tolkien fans that are questioning some of the qualities in Amazon's Rings of Power TV shows. So let's take a look at that article and see what Amazon's doing to win me over and to win you over. Let's find out, because it's two easy little things that they're doing. So let's check it out. So this is the article, The Secretive, Extravagant, Big-Hearted, note that word, World of the Rings of Power, the most expensive show ever made. Now, this article, it makes clear a few things. One, you should love the showrunners. You should love the actors. Because why? Because they love Tolkien. They love all the things that Tolkien ever did. They love his children. They love his wife. They love everything Tolkien, apparently. And we see that first in the word big-hearted. And then we get down here and we talk about where everyone involved insists this is a labor of love. And then we get into the next part of this important article, which talks about the two showrunners, J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay. And we get into the genial description they have of Payne, where he sent out his son's birth announcement in both Elvish and English, and then he pauses mid-conversation to pull out his phone and read a relevant Tolkien quote out loud. Notice how they're telling us everything they're doing, but they're not ever showing us what they're doing. It's a repetitive thing that you learn when you're supposed to learn how to write. Tell me the quotes that he brought out. Don't just always give me these things. In fact, J.D. Payne, Patrick McKay, tell me the quotes that you're using to support this show. Don't just tell me you love Tolkien, right? Because here it is. Spend a few minutes listening to them trip over one another as they geek out over Tolkien. Becomes clear how they won this particular job, despite their scant resumes. Reading this article, it becomes pretty clear that what they want us to do is to love them because they love Tolkien. But what is one of the defining things about love? It's you love something the way it is, not the way you want it to become. And when you say you love Tolkien, but most of what you're doing is changing what he wrote, that's not love. So let's get to the most important part of this article. They've already convinced us, one, that they love Tolkien. I mean, there's even a quote in here by Jeff Bezos. He says, Middle-earth is such a beloved world, and telling the story of the forging of the Rings of Power is a privilege and responsibility. I hope we do Tolkien's work justice. It goes beyond making a commercially successful show. Everyone working on the show read these stories as kids, and our hearts are in it. Oh, bleeding heart. Jeff Bezos loves Tolkien. Right, okay, yeah. This is not him loving Tolkien. This is feeding us the line that he wants us to hear, because we have to know that they love Tolkien all the way up to the top of Jeff Bezos's ivory tower at Amazon, right? They all love Middle-earth and Tolkien. But if you love something, shouldn't you respect it and actually do what you need to show us that what you love is what he wrote? But here's the most important part of this whole article. Point number 2 about how to convince me that I should love the Rings of Power. Well, but clearly they're having a hard time convincing fans to actually love this show. Some fan concerns are reasonable, like the fact that the show must compress thousands of years of Middle-earth history, right? So some of what I dislike in it is reasonable. We'll come to the unreasonable part here in a second. You can't have half your cast die in every 2 episodes, McKay says. Well, I'm not sure about him, but I'm pretty sure the Númenóreans lived more than 2 episodes. Others who came to the story by way of the movies treat any deviation as sacrilege. Of course, there are those who really only know Peter Jackson, and they truly believe that all elves have to resemble his elves, which is not completely true. He did a good job portraying them in some ways, but it's not like his way is the only way. I'll give him that. But let's scroll down a little bit further, because here we realize this here is the problem. This is how they convince you, right? Because real life trolls who take issue with the fact that Cordova, a black Puerto Rican man, is playing an elf, and that young Galadriel doesn't appear feminine because she wears armor. Oh, I disagree with the portrayal of this elf means I'm a racist, and I'm a sexist, and I'm a misogynist. That means that we're real life trolls. Payne has a Tolkien quote at the ready about trolls. Creatures of dull and lumpish nature that had no more language than beasts. Ah, yes, use Tolkien for your own needs, right? Don't quote him out of context so that we can go ahead and vilify those we disagree with. Weber, this is Lindsay Weber, the executive producer, she's more direct. We're all up for criticism, she says, but we're not up for racism. So let's recap for a second, because if we scroll up a little bit right here, they say that some fan concerns are reasonable. Oh, okay. So we have reasonable disagreements and unreasonable disagreements. Clearly, the unreasonable disagreements are if you say that you're changing Galadriel into what a man is, you're changing her into what Tolkien described as every warrior, but you're taking Galadriel and changing her. Look, my problem isn't that Galadriel is carrying a sword. My problem is that Galadriel doesn't carry a sword when Tolkien wrote her. My problem is that you're changing what Tolkien wrote, not what you're changing her into. If you're changing her into something that's more Tolkien, I am totally 100% on board with that. But show me, J.D. Payne, Patrick McKay, you have Tolkien quotes at the ready on your phone. Show me where Tolkien wrote Galadriel this way. Show me where your portrayal of the elves matches what Tolkien wrote. You're not doing any of that, so why would I ever believe you? So that was their point number 2. If you can't make more fans by telling us how much you love Tolkien, well, step number 2 is simply call them racist trolls. And it's already started. This is what Lucasfilm has been doing. They're letting their cast get involved with it, and we can take a look at what Morfydd Clark, the cast member who portrays Galadriel, in her Instagram. Here we go. Somebody questioned this. Awesome. I don't know what this is. Days of Our Lives, right? And then she relegates herself to that kind of ineptitude, that kind of reflex reaction. Look, I want to love stuff. I'm not like a negative guy at the very beginning. I give people the benefit of the doubt, and even though I disliked Peter Jackson's behind the scenes stuff that was coming out before Fellowship of the Ring was released. And I even disliked Fellowship of the Ring when I first saw it because of how he portrayed Galadriel, how he portrayed Aragorn, particularly the wizard battle just blew my mind. And I was like, this is not anything Tolkien wrote. So those are my reasons for there. I can appreciate it now. And I think he did some great things with it. I want to love stuff, but they know that they don't have an argument anymore. And the easiest way for them to win an argument is just call everybody a racist troll, call everyone a misogynist. If you disagree with the way that we're portraying these elves or these female characters or these male characters, then you have something wrong with you. It's not something wrong with the way that we're doing the story. You have something wrong with you. If you dislike Galadriel, boy, golly, you're a sexist. If you dislike Arondir, boy, golly, you're a racist. Right? That's the discussion. I want an honest discussion. I would be happy to discuss with them about what it is that you're actually doing to the show and why I disagree with it. And I can sit down and I can be happy. I'm not going to call them names. I want an honest discussion about what they're doing. And we can agree to disagree, but I will still say that your show is not what Tolkien wrote. And I can choose to dislike it. But once you start calling everyone else racist and trolls for disliking these certain characters, even though our reasoning is far more based in what Tolkien actually wrote. And I can give you the quotes exactly of what the elves are supposed to look like. I can give you the quote exactly of what Tarmiriel is supposed to look like right from Tolkien. Here, at the end of Numenor, and last of all, the mounting wave, green and cold and plumed with foam, climbing over the land, took to its bosom Tarmiriel the queen, fairer than silver or ivory or pearls. I mean, that's a description, right? And I want Tolkien to be as he described. I want what they represent to be as he described. You can disagree with me. That's totally fine. And they could disagree with me too. That's their own prerogative. But let's at least have the discussion. If we don't have the discussion, you're never going to win over any fans. And by calling all those who disagree with you racists and trolls and misogynists and shut the F up, you're just going to lose out. We saw it with Obi-Wan when by the end of the show, the amount of viewers had declined so precipitously that it was kind of stunning. It happened with Wheel of Time. We get all of these things, right? Because what I want it to be true to Tolkien. I don't want it to be what they feel is right. I mean, feelings are the worst arbiter of decision making ever, because what you know is right is exactly what Tolkien wrote. Not what you think Tolkien wrote or what Tolkien should have written in 2022. It's what Tolkien actually wrote. And that's why fans like me, that's why fans like you, we're sticking with what Tolkien wrote. And when you change that, we know that you're not respecting his words. And how deep that goes is only exacerbated by your inability to have an actual discussion with people like me. Have the discussion. I know you won't do it, but I'd rather have clarity than agreement and look at the things that we disagree on and say, okay, we disagree there. Don't call me a racist troll. We can disagree, but once you start getting into these straw man arguments that vilify anybody who disagrees with you, you're going to lose half the fandom. And I'm pretty sure you have. I'm pretty sure Amazon has. Man, vilifying your opposition is the worst way to win anybody over, and that's all that they're doing. Thanks for listening to my rant. I couldn't let this one go today. It was just too over the top for me again, right? This is just coming out all the time from them. And to see this being the narrative that they're going to just continue to push, that if you disagree with the Black Dwarf or the Black Elf or the Asian Hobbit or the West Indian Numenorian, I don't know, right? It's just ridiculous. Let's have a conversation. Let's not vilify each other. Good Lord. But if you start it, right, we're going to end it. We're not going to let it go. Yeah, that's my rant. Subscribe, like, comment, share it. We appreciate it. And I'll see you next time.